There are 3 specific foods sitting in your kitchen right now. Foods most doctors consider completely safe. Foods that carry official endorsements from major health organizations. And every single time you eat them, they are quietly advancing the destruction of your eyesight. That is not fear-mongering. That is medicine. If you are over 60 and your vision has been shifting, the halos around headlights at night, the way words smear when you are reading in low light, the colors that look less sharp than they did 5 years ago, and your eye doctor told you it is normal aging, you received half the truth. The other half is what this video is about. There is a specific biological process connecting those 3 foods to your retina, your lens, and the microscopic blood vessels keeping your photoreceptor cells alive. That process is measurable. It is documented in peer-reviewed literature, and it is driven almost entirely by what you eat at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, not by the years on your driver's license. Stay to the end, because reason 1, the food most people eat every single day while believing they have already cut it out, is the one that overrides everything else. Patients have sat in my office convinced they had eliminated this from their diet entirely. Their eyes told a different story. I am Dr. Ethan Reed, integrative medicine physician with over 2 decades of clinical practice working with adults over 60. This channel exists because that answer deserves to be heard clearly, completely, and without a copay. We are almost at 100,000 subscribers. People who decided that real, evidence-based health information is worth having in their lives. If that is why you are here too, subscribe now and become part of that. Every subscriber is a signal that this kind of content matters and should keep being made. It takes 3 seconds and it means more than you might think. Let's start with the biology, because you need to understand the mechanism first. Everything else depends on it. Here is what is happening inside your body right now. Your eye operates under extraordinary physiological demand. Your retina, the thin sheet of neural tissue lining the back of your eyeball, consumes more oxygen and energy per unit of tissue than almost any other structure in the human body. To sustain that demand, it relies on a dense, delicate network of capillaries so narrow that individual red blood cells pass through them in single file. When those capillaries are clean and flowing smoothly, your photoreceptor cells receive everything they need: oxygen, nutrients, the raw materials for vision. When they are compromised, photoreceptors begin to deteriorate, not all at once, gradually, silently, in ways that take years to surface and are then described to you as irreversible. Your lens has its own vulnerability. It depends on the precise, crystalline arrangement of its proteins to stay transparent. When those proteins are chemically altered by compounds your food introduces into your bloodstream, that transparency erodes. What your ophthalmologist eventually identifies as a cataract is a lens whose proteins have been structurally deformed from the inside. The cause is not time. The cause is a set of specific, correctable physiological processes, and 3 foods are driving them. Reason 3, the heart healthy, oils rebuilding, your retina with the wrong materials. Most people have never considered that the oil in their frying pan has any connection to their eyesight. Most doctors will never raise it at an appointment. Here is what is happening inside your body every time you cook with canola, soybean, corn, or sunflower oil. Every cell membrane in your body including the membranes of your photoreceptor cells, is assembled from the fatty acids you consume. Your retina, specifically, contains the highest concentration of polyunsaturated fatty acids of any tissue in the body. It is engineered to run on omega-3 fatty acids, stable, flexible molecules that allow photoreceptors to respond quickly and accurately to light. Industrial seed oils are overwhelmingly high in omega-6 fatty acids. When these oils dominate your diet, omega-6 building blocks begin displacing omega-3s inside those photoreceptor membranes. The structures that result are less stable and less capable of supporting the chemistry of vision, particularly in low light and glare conditions. Beyond the membrane problem, heating these oils generates a class of oxidative compounds called lipid peroxides and aldehydes that enter your bloodstream and attack cellular structures directly. A review published in Biomedicine and Pharmacotherapy documented that the average Western adult now carries an omega-6 to omega-3 ratio of approximately 15 to 1, a ratio our biology was never designed to handle, driven almost entirely by the seed oils introduced into the food supply in the 20th century. A patient I will call Gloria, 71 years old, former school administrator, meticulous about what she considered a healthy diet, came to me frustrated that her night vision had become unreliable. She cooked almost exclusively with vegetable oil and used store-bought salad dressings daily. Every packaged food in her pantry contained soybean or canola oil. When we replaced her cooking oils and began systematically eliminating industrial seed oils from her diet, she told me 3 months later that she had not realized how accustomed she had become to avoiding the things she could no longer see well in the dark. The fix is a direct substitution. Extra virgin olive oil in a dark glass bottle for everyday cooking and cold preparation. Its polyphenols carry documented protective properties for retinal tissue. Grass-fed butter or ghee for higher heat cooking. Avocado oil as a clean, stable alternative. These fats do not generate the same oxidative compounds under cooking temperatures. They provide the structural inputs your photoreceptors were designed to receive. Pro tip: the seed oils are not only in your pan, they are in your crackers, your granola bars, your frozen vegetables with sauce, your store-bought bread. Read ingredients, not just nutrition labels. If a packaged food has a shelf life longer than 2 weeks and you have not read the ingredients, assume soybean or canola oil is in it. Reason 2: the safe carbohydrates. Flooding your retinal blood vessels. Tell me if this sounds familiar. You switched from white bread to whole wheat. You traded white rice for brown. You feel good about those choices. Here's what almost never gets said at appointments about what those choices are doing to your eyes. Here's what is happening inside your body every time you eat a slice of bread, whole wheat or otherwise. Starch is, at its chemical foundation, a chain of glucose molecules linked together. The moment that bread contacts the enzymes in your mouth, those chains begin breaking down into individual glucose units that enter your bloodstream. The glycemic index of whole wheat bread sits at approximately 74. Regular white bread is 73. Pure table sugar, the thing most people are carefully avoiding, registers at 65. Your responsible carbohydrate is producing a faster glucose surge than a spoonful of sugar would. That glucose surge flows directly into the fluid that surrounds and nourishes your lens, where it chemically bonds to lens proteins through a process called glycation. Glycated proteins clump. They scatter light instead of transmitting it. And the capillaries feeding your retina, some measuring less than 5 micrometers across, receive blood that has become thicker and higher in circulating fats called triglycerides. When blood stagnates inside vessels that fine, oxygen delivery to photoreceptor cells drops. A population study published in Ophthalmology examining adults over 65 found that post-meal blood glucose spikes, not fasting glucose levels, were a significantly stronger predictor of retinal microvascular damage. The damage was accumulating in the 2 hours after every meal in people whose routine blood panels showed nothing unusual. A patient I will call Martin, 68, retired contractor, someone who had genuinely cleaned up his diet over the previous decade, came to me after noticing his reading vision had deteriorated noticeably over 18 months. He ate multigrain toast each morning, rice with most dinners, and sandwiches on whole wheat at lunch. His fasting glucose was, as he put it, textbook perfect. His post-meal glucose curve was not. Once we mapped out the real picture and replaced his rapid-release starches with fiber-dense, slow-digesting alternatives, his follow-up eye exam 6 months later showed stabilization, where his ophthalmologist had previously projected continued progression. The fix is not eliminating carbohydrates. It is replacing rapid-release starches with slow, fiber-buffered whole food sources: lentils, black beans, sweet potato with the skin on, steel-cut oats, barley. These release glucose gradually, keeping blood in those retinal capillaries flowing smoothly rather than surging and stagnating. Pro tip: at any meal that includes starch, eat all your vegetables first, completely, then your protein, then the starch in a smaller portion than you normally take. A clinical study published in Diabetes Care found this sequence alone reduced peak post-meal blood glucose by up to 37% compared to eating the starch first. The food is the same. The sequence changes what it does to your eyes. Reason 1, the sugar you are certain you already eliminated. This is the one I told you to stay for, and I need you to listen carefully, because the most common response I get from patients when I raise this is, "That is not me. I gave up sugar years ago." Here is what is happening inside your body every day you believe that. Refined sugar enters your bloodstream and triggers a rapid glucose surge that flows into every fluid in your body, including the aqueous fluid bathing your lens. Inside that fluid, glucose molecules attach permanently to your lens proteins through a process called glycation. The resulting compounds, advanced glycation end products, accumulate year after year, progressively deforming the crystalline architecture that keeps your lens clear. Simultaneously, each spike creates a burst of oxidative stress inside retinal tissue that your antioxidant defenses, lutein, zeaxanthin, glutathione, must work to neutralize. When the spikes come repeatedly all day, those defenses cannot keep pace. And here's what your blood test almost certainly missed. Blood glucose does not need to reach diabetic levels for glycation to advance. Repeated spikes within ranges your physician calls normal produce measurable damage over years of daily exposure. A long-term observational study tracking over 11,000 adults found that those with the highest dietary glycation load carried a 44% greater risk of cataract development compared to those with the lowest. That is not driven by genetics. That is driven by daily food choices across years. Now, let me tell you about a patient I will call Frank, 66 years old, retired electrician, someone who had cut out candy, soda, and pastries after his doctor flagged borderline blood sugar 4 years earlier. He walked every morning without fail. He was certain he had handled the sugar problem. When his ophthalmologist noted significant cataract progression with no explanation offered beyond age, Frank came to me. We documented every single thing he actually consumed for 1 full week. His morning granola, 18 grams of added sugar. His flavored yogurt, 22 grams. 2 slices of whole wheat bread at lunch, 8 grams. His pasta sauce at dinner, 12 grams per serving. His post-walk sports drink, 34 grams. Frank was consuming between 80 and 90 grams of added sugar daily while being completely certain he had eliminated it. "I thought I was being careful," he told me afterward. "I had no idea what careful actually looked like." Frank made the changes. 3 months later, he called the office to say that reading the morning paper felt different, that he had not noticed how much he had been compensating until he stopped needing to. The fix begins with one habit. Read every ingredient label on every packaged product you currently consume. Any serving containing more than 5 grams of added sugar, whether listed as cane sugar, dextrose, maltose, high fructose corn syrup, or fruit juice concentrate, is advancing glycation inside your lens every time you eat it. The granola, the yogurt, the pasta sauce, the sports drink, knowing their names is the beginning of stopping the process. Pro tip: the most effective substitutions are plain Greek yogurt topped with fresh berries, steel-cut oats sweetened only with cinnamon, and homemade sauces using whole crushed tomatoes. These deliver the same satisfaction without the glucose surge that is deforming your lens proteins meal by meal. Here is the protocol: 4 specific actions, structured by when they happen. Every morning, before you eat anything, read the label on every packaged product you plan to consume that day. You are looking for added sugar in any form. If a single serving carries more than 5 grams, set it aside and replace it with something whole. Greek yogurt, fresh fruit, eggs, steel-cut oats, then add 1 cup of cooked dark leafy greens, kale, spinach, or collard greens, with a full tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. This delivers more lutein and zeaxanthin to your macula than most supplements at a fraction of the cost. These pigments are fat-soluble, which means absorption without fat is negligible. Skipping the oil defeats the purpose. With your main meal, eat your vegetables first, completely, then protein, then starch in a smaller portion than you normally take. Use only olive oil, grass-fed butter, or avocado oil in your cooking. No canola, soybean, corn, or sunflower oil, not in the pan, not in the dressing, not from the package. Every evening, include 1 portion of wild-caught salmon, sardines, or another fatty fish at least 3 times per week. The omega-3 fatty acids in these foods provide the structural raw material your photoreceptor membranes were designed to use, material that industrial seed oils have been gradually displacing. 3 times per week, include 1 zinc-rich food, pumpkin seeds, oysters, or grass-fed beef, with a meal. Zinc is the cofactor for the enzyme your retinal cells use to neutralize one of the most destructive free radical species in visual tissue. Deficiency in adults over 60 is far more common than most people realize. The preparation warning most people miss. Lutein and zeaxanthin from raw salads are poorly absorbed. Always consume cooked dark greens, not raw, with a fat source. Raw kale in a dry salad delivers almost nothing to your macula. This protocol costs less per week than a single bottle of an over-the-counter eye supplement. And unlike that, it is aimed at the actual source of the problem. Each of these alone contributes. Together, they create the full picture of why vision declines and why it does not have to. Industrial seed oils displace the structural fats your photoreceptors depend on. Refined starches spike blood glucose after every meal in ways your routine blood test is not designed to detect. Hidden refined sugar drives glycation inside your lens day after day in foods you believe are completely safe. This is not inevitable. This is not simply aging. This is physiology, and physiology can be addressed. Your eyes have been working without interruption since the moment you were born. Every sunrise, every face, every road you have ever driven, all of it processed without a single request for maintenance. They deserve the same care and attention now. Start tonight, not next week. Tonight, open your pantry and read 1 label on 1 product you eat every day. Just 1. What you find may be the most important 2 minutes you spend this year. Take a photograph of something you love looking at today. Put it somewhere you will find it in 8 weeks. That image is a benchmark for what is possible when you stop feeding the damage and start feeding the repair. Your vision is living tissue. It responds to what you give it. Give it something worth responding to. If what you just heard is different from anything your doctor has said to you in the last 10 years, that gap is exactly why this channel exists. We are almost at 100,000 subscribers, and every person who joins this community is helping build something that genuinely serves people. If this video was worth your time, that subscription is worth 3 seconds of yours. If you found one piece of this useful, the sugar, the oils, the meal sequencing, hit the like button. It is the single most direct way to push this information towards someone who may be spending money on things that cannot work because they have never been told what is actually driving their problem. Tell me in the comments, which of these 3 reasons do you think has been the biggest factor in your own experience? I read every comment, and your answer shapes what I cover next. Share this with a partner, a parent, a sibling, a friend. You may never know whose life you change by doing that. I am Dr. Ethan Reed. I will see you in the next video.